I call Shadow Minister Dr Ben Spencer.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And it's a pleasure to speak on behalf of His Majesty's official opposition on this important topic. And thank you for bringing me now. I'm not going to speak for too long because there are so many members opposite who are very keen to take part in this important debate. I'd like to start by congratulating the Honourable Member opposite for Whitehaven working and for bringing this private member's bill to the House, and all the different people, companies, charities, organisations who he's worked with as part of this campaign to drive this forwards. I do feel for him, as I know the challenges of having ballot bills. I've had two myself, and navigating that as a backbench Member of Parliament in the party of government and trying to use private members' bills as a campaign vehicle to drive forwards change in this area. So I hope he'll forgive me for some of my comments I shall make regarding the content of the bill before us. We can only deal with the bill as we have in front of us today, and the text of the bill was only published in the past few days. So my comments today necessarily reflect the detail of the Honourable Member's proposals, which have only just been made clear. And in a sense, this debate sort of reminds me of Schrodinger's cat. It's been a sort of Schrodinger's cat debate where references to a former bill and current bill have been made equally through speeches. So it feels like we have a sort of a debate on the bill which could have been and a debate on the bill in front of us. Indeed, John Womberman's speech speaks to the lack of need for further research, but equally the bill calls for further research to take place. We've had some fantastic contributions on all sides of the House. I'd just like to note the contributions from North West Hampshire, Reigate, East Hampshire, Bridgewater and Broxbourne, which reiterated this theme of the importance of driving forwards change in this area, and many stories shared, personal declarations shared about the impact of social media and difficulty parenting at this time. I should declare I'm also a parent, although thankfully my children aren't at the stage where they've started consuming social media in the way that I've heard other people talk about today. Of course.
I thank the Honourable Member for giving way. He's making a powerful point about the debate and how it's dwelled in part on the importance of evidence and research. Would he agree with me that we have so much evidence because we speak as MPs with so many children? I have in my hand here letters from children in Year 5 and Year 6 at St James's C of E Primary Academy, and if I read briefly from Eleanor and River, they say kids will always be exposed to inappropriate content such as unsuitable videos and pictures. They could feel unsafe, discouraged or exposed, and then they would not be able to unsee the images again. Does he agree with me that we should be shielding children like this from this sort of content?
Well, I thank him for his intervention. I'm going to resist the temptation of being drawn into a discussion about research methodology in this area, and I have to tell him I'm very tempted to start talk about the importance of case series data, qualitative data in terms of what people are telling us, what we're seeing ourselves, compared to cross-sectional or longitudinal studies or cluster studies looking at the impact of different schools. I'm going to really resist that. But what I will say, but of course, I mean, the stories that we've heard and what we've, we hear from our constituents and we've heard in this debate today of what children are exposed to is absolutely horrific. I don't think anyone would disagree with that, and clearly we need to protect children from that. At the heart of this bill is the desire to drive forward our scientific understanding of the effects on children's mental health, learning and social development of smartphone and social media use. I hope that there is a commitment when we hear from the Minister, hopefully, to conduct a detailed review in this complex area where so much is at stake. But I'd expand it out broader. Any analysis must take a clear-eyed approach to both the advantages and disadvantages that technological developments such as smartphones and internet access offer, the benefits to young people of increased connectivity, access to information, and even apps that manage health conditions like diabetes when in school and away from home, which will transform the lives of children and young people. But clearly, there is an increasing body of research demonstrating damaging effects of excessive smartphone and social media use on children and adolescents. Go for it.
Would he agree with me that it's so important that in schools we move towards smartphone-free schools? And I'd like to welcome the work done in Monmouthshire, my constituency, where the head teacher of Monmouth Comprehensive is pushing forward such a ban because grades increase by almost 2 levels where schools have banned mobile phones.
Well, I'm going to come to that a little bit later in my speech. Perhaps members opposite will have the chance to express a view on this when the Children Wellbeing Bill comes back to Parliament for report stage in a couple of weeks' time. Going back to my points on the research, a longitudinal study in the US of over 6.5 thousand children aged between 12 to 15, adjusted for baseline mental health status, found that adolescents who spent more than 3 hours per day on social media faced double the risk of experiencing poor mental health outcomes, including symptoms of depression and anxiety. These findings were brought into sharp focus by the tragic recent cases of children taking their own lives after having been the subject of online bullying or encountering harmful material online, and clearly that weighs on all of us as legislators. During the previous government and now in opposition, this side of the House has pursued measures to make the online world a safer place for children and young people. I'm proud that the previous government brought into legislation the Online Safety Act, amongst other measures to make the online world safer. This Act requires platforms to take measures to prevent children from accessing harmful and age-inappropriate content, particularly content relating to pornography, suicide and self-harm, serious violence and bullying. And further, the Act requires platforms to remove illegal content quickly and to prevent it appearing in the first place, and to use and enforce age-checking measures on platforms where content harmful to children is published through the adoption of highly effective age assurance technologies. In January, Ofcom published industry guidance on how it expects age assurance to be put into effect, including deadlines for platforms to conduct risk assessments and to put certain safety measures in place. We can expect to see further developments in this area as the protections envisaged by the OSA are rolled out. However, parents, including so many in my own constituency of Runnymede and Weybridge, are also rightly concerned about the addictive nature of smartphones themselves and the impact this can have on attention span and social development. According to polling from Parentkind in 2024, 83% of parents felt that smartphones are harmful to children and young people. Research carried out by the Policy Exchange across over 200 schools at the end of 23 found that schools with strict mobile phone bans achieved, on average, better Progress 8 scores and better GCSE grades. This was despite the fact that schools with highly effective bans in the study had a high proportion of pupils eligible for free school meals than schools with less restrictive policies. Now, in February, the Shadow Minister of Education tabled an amendment to the Children Wellbeing in Schools Bill to require all schools in England to ban the use of mobile telephones during the school day. This, however, was rejected by the government. I wonder how members opposite feel about that. Should the government decide in this, perhaps further to the Chief Medical Officer's review, we on the side of this House will work constructively with them to seek practical and effective solutions which enable children to continue to benefit from the opportunities offered online while protecting them from its harmful effects.